Hello, we are in conversation with the Sanford School, a podcast from the T. Denny Sanford School of Social and Family Dynamics at Arizona State University, designed to showcase timely and informative insights from leading faculty, researchers, and other experts which impact the ever-changing social world we live in. Here at the Sanford School, we recognize that the lands where we are hosting this conversation at Arizona State University belong to the Maricopa and Pima peoples, and we are privileged that we can welcome you to today's conversation. In today's podcast, we're excited to be in conversation with Dr. Scott Brooks, Associate Professor of Sociology and Director of the Sanford School. You can also follow Dr. Brooks on Twitter at Dr. Scott N. Brooks. Dr. Brooks, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, great to be here with you, John.
Well, Scott, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you taking some time out. It dawned on me as I was introducing you that I did refer to you as Dr. Brooks, yet you're also a professor and a director, and there's probably many other titles of you that we don't currently know. But some of those titles can be a little overwhelming to students, I would gather, that are coming to school for the first time. What's the best way to navigate that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, John. You know, I when I started, there was the whole thought of I've earned this degree. You know, I deserve to be referred to as doctor, but really in an academic and an institutional setting such as this, you know, the title is professor for most students. So for them, professor is fine. I think for every professor, you should ask the question, you know, how would they like to be referred? And for me, professor works. And for colleagues, if you're not my student, then Scott is absolutely fine. It's perfect.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for clearing that up. And I hope I have your permission now to call you Scott through our podcast. Okay. Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you come to be to ASU, and tell us a little bit about some of your research interests.
Yeah, so I've been a professor. I'm now entering my 16th fall. I got here via UC Riverside. I was at UC Riverside on two different stints, one for 8 years and one for an additional year. Just prior to coming to ASU, I was there for my second stint of just a year. I was at the University of Missouri for 4 years as well. And so, you know, I've been in sociology departments. I've also had joint appointments with Black Studies at the University of Missouri. And then I was in the Graduate School of Education where I served as associate dean. And that was in my second stint at UC Riverside. So I got here via a little bit of a circuitous route, but very happy to be here. We had moved 4 times in 6 years. And so now entering in my 4th year, I'm happy to be at a place that I'm calling home, where I enjoy my academic as well as my personal life. My family has adjusted, and we're happy to be here in the Tempe, Phoenix area. And my research has really always been about sport. So I pursued my PhD with the goal of finding ways to help coaches and athletes communicate better. During high school, I struggled with my high school coach as a senior, eventually quit the basketball team. I was co-captain. I had some dreams of playing college ball. Actually still had a small time college scholarship on the table, but elected just to go and do my undergraduate. I realized that basketball was not going to be a long-term plan in terms of a career, but I thought that if I could just study sport, stay around sport, and then work with coaches and athletes, that would be something I would enjoy for the rest of my life. And that's the journey that I'm on, and I'm happy that I'm here at Arizona State. My other appointment with the Global Sport Institute allows me to do, you know, all of these things: be a professor, teach sociology, engage with students, and, you know, also be at the cutting edge of sports research.
Well, Scott, there is no question that you've hit the ground running ever since coming to ASU. I know I'm excited that you're here. I know our school is excited that you have a leadership role now as director. And you've been in the school now for a little while. And I was just wondering, can you give us some highlights about the Sanford School?
Yeah, this is a great place. Arizona State is one of these institutions that really embraces the idea of interdisciplinarity. And here we are at the School of Social and Family Dynamics, where you can see we've got different degree programs in family and human development, in sociology. We've got certificates in working with military families. And we also have a marriage and family therapy program. And so, we really do have expertise across a range of disciplines and topical areas. So, this is one of the, when I think of being an academic, I always thought about knowing something, a lot about one little thing. But when you're in an interdisciplinary school, you're able to branch out a little bit more. And so you come to work with colleagues who have a broad range of expertise methodologically as well as topics, and you learn more. And this is what really is exciting for those of us who kind of geek out about being around school and staying in this academic environment. So when you look at our school, 590 undergraduate degrees were awarded. Our student body, 44% of our students come from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. Over 1,200 online undergraduate degrees have been awarded, 410 graduate degrees awarded, 59. So that's close to 60 faculty members. And so for those who maybe are more familiar with departments at the university, to have around 60 faculty members is really pretty big. 29 of those are tenured and tenure track faculty. So that's the size of a very large department. But those additional 30 faculty members, they really help us to serve our students, to teach at a high level. And so, our faculty are really great people with, research as well as with teaching expertise. 628 incoming students. And then, you look at the students enrolled in the college. So our 628 incoming students and the number of degrees that we are awarding, that's all a part of that large, over 10,000 students enrolled in the college as a whole. And so we are cultivating an inclusive environment. We've got great energy here, and we're picking up momentum to really take advantage of this moment that we're in, to seize this opportunity to educate in different ways with different modalities and to serve our students as they prepare themselves for their futures.
Yes, and they have some great futures to prepare for, and we're glad that they're coming here to do it through us here at the Sanford School. This is a pretty big question I have for you because it can go in a lot of directions, but we're in a really interesting time, just socially, and we've got a lot going on. I don't have to talk too much about it, but that being said, coming in as the new director, can you tell us about your vision for the school this year and maybe into the future? Kind of like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so last year our school engaged in a visioning exercise, and that's, from top to bottom in terms of faculty and staff and our graduate students. We asked questions about, what would help our school to be better? What were the things that people wanted to feel as members of our school? And what are some ideas for what we might do to get there, to get closer to how we wanted to feel and what we thought we needed to do to serve our students as well as our community. And so in that visioning exercise, we came back with a few different key ideas. And so what I've done is I've really mapped onto those ideas through that visioning exercise. And I've come up with 5 pillars, and not just by myself. I've done it with a group of core faculty, and we're continuing to have discussions. So this could even grow because this is an ongoing project. So the first pillar was interdisciplinarity. So our school, as the Sanford School of Social and Family Dynamics, has been heavily family and human development, and that's great. We've got a strength there. We've got some national rankings in terms of that. We really were asked by our upper administration to become more interdisciplinary, and that we have a sociology major at the undergraduate level, have a sociology online master's, But what we're bringing on this fall is we're getting our first cohort of sociology PhD students, and that's in person. So that interdisciplinarity approach is what we're not just embracing and recommitting ourselves to, but we're running with that. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is intersectionality. And to kind of the broader public, that's often talked about as diversity and inclusion. As academics, we want to be more mindful of thinking of diversity and inclusion beyond simple representation, the numbers, so that it looks right. Instead, what we're focused on is power and how power operates, because we know that if we're looking at how people are included, that there's a power dynamic, right? So if we just continue the way that we're going or make small changes, it's not necessarily going to have the long-term impact if you're not addressing how power is operating that reinforces and maintains a status quo. So intersectionality is about looking at power, how it operates to continue to reproduce inequality. So that's our intersectionality approach. And we have faculty who have expertise in this as a topic of interest, who have methodological skills that are intersectional, looking at race, gender, class, sexuality. This is what some of our faculty are really engaged in. It's part of my research to find those intersections of race, sport, and class and sexuality. It enhances our understanding of what's really going on. Our third pillar is student success. And we've always been about student success, but we're looking to be more targeted, right? In terms of the first two pillars, interdisciplinarity, finding students across the board in family and human development, and sociology who might be also interested in military. And we're also thinking about it in terms of diversity and inclusion. Do we have practices that, unintentionally lead to some biases that prevent students, particularly students of color and first generation and those who are, in our LGBT community? Are we doing the things that we need to create that inclusive environment at that student success level? Are we providing courses that are of interest, that are topical, that can help them to navigate this world? So that's student success. And then the last two for now, one is community engagement. We really want to be in greater partnership with community, local communities, making sure that we are not just giving back, but that we're learning from and contributing to a common good that's right here in our Phoenix general metropolitan area. And then what we're also looking at is developing leaders. And so this is everything from students, wanting to hear from students, learn from students, having them to be more engaged with our school, helping us to improve, graduate students, our staff. I've really been encouraged in just a short bit of time by the genius, the hard work, the resilience, the creativity of our staff. Folks like yourself and Shelly, who's helping us with this podcast. We have leaders at all these different positions, and we want to make sure that we are, helping you all to be empowered so that the school is better. I don't have all the answers. I know that two heads are better than one, and three and four, are better than one. And so this leadership piece is one that I feel that it's my job to really serve as a coach, right? I study sports and I study coaching. My job is to really identify, a vision, to really kind of set a stage, to try to be very active in the building momentum and answering questions and solving problems, but to really let people lead from where they are and help to advance our school.
I mean, that is all just so incredible, Scott, and especially this last piece about leadership, because it even goes to the student level.
Yeah.
It's one thing that now we can invest resources in the staff and the faculty and who makes up this school in terms of the leadership and really developing that, because that trickle-down effect will then help these students really take their careers to the next level. And so we're leading by example. And man, it's an exciting journey to be on.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Yeah, the students, I've learned a lot from students. And so, I really value that and think that the more we can get students involved, the better off we will be. And of course, we're here to answer their questions and to help them to be prepared for their lives.
Well, Scott, let's stick with students for a moment, because that's what we're here for,
That's
right?
right.
We are here for the students. And we have a lot to offer, and there's a lot of choices to be made by a student, especially that comes to Arizona State University.
That's
So,
right.
when thinking about that, what can we offer students who choose the Sanford School as their core school?
So what I think we offer first and foremost is, a wide range of faculty with different interests. When you're looking at family and human development, you're talking about researchers who are studying bullying and looking at what is happening to kids at school level. Our Children Equity Project, that's run by Chantel Meek, that is actually looking at pre-K. And so we're already looking at the impact, social impact on kids, um, based on things that are going on before they even start kindergarten. We're looking at structural forces, economics. We're looking at how they're being tracked, right? So that these early assessments that are being given before they even start kindergarten and nursery school and in daycare, how this has an impact, these early learning experiences, how this shapes how they come to see their relationship with an educational system. So we've got all of that covered, and we're increasingly looking at teenagers and moving more into those who are elderly. So we've got the life course covered. And then our sociology side really engages at both community levels, but focuses in on intersectionality, focuses in on looking at race and ethnicity and changes in global politics even. So looking at immigration status and other things that are happening in our country and in our world. And so I think students can really sink their teeth into a lot of different courses, a lot of different topics. We're going to offer more research opportunities. So this is also a focus. It's a part of the leadership, but it's definitely about the student success side. I have found it to be so rewarding when students have that aha moment and they see that research really does, it's something that's relevant for them. It's something that they can be a part of. It's something that they can use to study their own communities and the things that they're concerned with. And so we're going to emphasize undergraduate research. We have a summer super program, which is for undergraduate research, primarily for those who are first generation or coming from diverse and ethnic backgrounds, but it's often a first step into research. But we're going to be looking at how do we integrate more research in classes and how do we offer students, something that other schools are not. And for me, that's going to be real research, opportunities and training them and giving them, having a plan. So it's not just they get to do research for one semester or for, just during the summer. We want this to be something that's ongoing so they can really develop skills. So I think that it's the course offering. I think it's the faculty. It's the opportunities for research. And then the last thing is really just a community. I've always said to students, once you're my student, you're always my student. And across the board, whether it's undergraduate or graduate students, our community is going to embrace students. You're not going to just have your advisor or your committee that are there for you. You're going to have the whole breadth of our school. All of our faculty and our staff are going to be there for you.
And that's tremendous. And that really is sort of the difference maker, in the years that I've been here, is just knowing that that's sort of what we bring to the table. We're all about community and welcoming and working with each other and working interdisciplinarily. And it's very exciting. So thanks for sharing those highlights with us. So as we kind of close up our time together, I wanted to just talk about, something I know you're passionate about, is sharing the great work, teaching, and research that happens in the Sanford School with a much broader audience.
Yeah.
We can kind of tell colleagues what we've been working on and things like that, and there's some articles here and there, but you really have a bigger vision for going bigger. One of those is through this podcast offering that we're doing today.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about sort of what your vision and what you'd like to see us doing?
Yeah, as academics, we often are used to moving slowly, being methodical in terms of our research. But when you look at what's going on today, people are looking to academics. What's the research, right? This is a historical moment if we're looking at what's going on in terms of racism in our country's new awareness of what black men, black women have been facing in terms of police brutality. You go back to Ahmaud Arbery and the whole issue around running while you're black. You've got Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade. Of course, you have George Floyd. So, this greater awareness, we want to be more responsive. And so podcasts and interacting via social media is a way for us to be more responsive. We are doing timely research and we have great information to disseminate. And I just want us to maximize that. So I talk about us becoming better at producing digital content. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to produce more digital content so that there's more of a service to our community. And it also, at the same time, of course, showcases faculty in the research that we're doing. But it really is about that service. It really is. And so what you're going to hear on our podcast is our different wonderful faculty and the work that they're doing. You're going to hear more about some courses and some classes that we're offering. We're looking to start up new certificate programs, and so you'll hear about these new and interesting, and I hope it and believe exciting opportunities for taking new courses in a variety of formats. And just to give you one example of another way that we want to interact and to talk about research, for me, I think that if I'm not excited and having fun with what I'm teaching, then my students aren't. And so I think it's the same thing with research, right? That research has to have some kind of excitement. It has to be engaging in some way. And one of the things that happens as faculty is often that research that is so much fun for us, we don't actually publish. We feel as though it probably won't have as much traction. Often isn't an area that gets funded as much. I study sport. Sport doesn't get a lot of funding. So I've been thinking for a while about, what's that research that are B-sides? And that's dated me a little bit, but thinking about record albums and that B-side, the hits were often on that A side and they were easy to identify. Sometimes the name of the album is that title track is on that A side. But you can judge the real fans of a particular group or a band by their awareness of those B-sides, right? So that B-side, I was a DJ in college, so forgive me for referencing that DJ background. But I want a podcast. We're going to have a podcast where we talk about these B-sides. What's this fun research that faculty have where they haven't engaged with yet, but they're excited to? What can they tell us about that? And what's the research that they actually have done? I've done a lot of dating research at each campus. I've done some dating research, but I've never ever published it. I use it in class. It's part of my course material. And I use it when I consult sport organizations, when I'm speaking with athletes. It gives me a context and it shows that I have a better sense for what they're going through. So B-sides is something I'm really excited about. I've got some colleagues, not only in SSFD, but also in other schools that we've already started to talk about this. And so I think it's going to be a really fun podcast.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to being a part of it. I think your vision is great. We're very excited to have you leading us into the future in our school. Scott, thank you so much for being in conversation with us today on our podcast. And we just are looking forward to great things from you. So thank you again for being our guest.
Appreciate it. This is, I believe, the 25th year of our school. We've had, leaders before who have set the stage and have really brought in great and critical faculty. So I don't stand here alone. Again, I couldn't have done it without first there being a Sanford school that was already established, and we've had great leaders throughout. I just hope that, I can carry this forward in a particular way that is something that engages students more and that helps us to prepare ourselves and our students for the future.
Well, Scott, we appreciate you. Thanks. Looking forward to hearing from you again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Be safe and healthy.
All right, you too. For our next podcast, we will be in conversation with Dr. Eleanor Seaton and Dr. Rocio Garcia from the Sanford School to discuss the topic of intersectionality. Be sure to follow today's guest on Twitter using his handle at Dr. Scott N. Brooks. And don't forget, connect with us and get access to all of our podcasts by visiting thesanfordSchool.asu.edu/podcast, where you will also find links to all of our social media channels. This conversation has come to an end, but our work here continues.